In the early hours of the 8th of April, a volcano in the central Philippines erupts. It lasted for more than an hour, sending a plume of ash 4,000 meters into the sky. Another volcano erupted in southwestern Iceland, posing a serious threat to the town of Grindavík. And forcing closure of a popular tourist destination. Alaska's Mount Spur is about to erupt. Be ready. That's the message from the Alaska Volcano Observatory. A volcano near Alaska's largest city shows new signs of unrest. The likelihood of an eruption at Mount Spur in the next few weeks or months has significantly increased. Merapi is one of the most active volcanoes in Indonesia. Recently, Mount Merapi erupted, sending ash 1.5 kilometers above its peak. Another bizarre event took place in this vast archipelago nation. A travel content creator, Icha Thawil, was visiting the active Dukono volcano in Indonesia when the unexpected happened. The volcano erupted, exploding ash and lava into the sky. But Icha did not budge. He rather struck a pose with it. This moment has now gone viral on social media, raising concern about the potential dangers involved. Is it a life-threatening or a courageous act? The debate continues to dominate the internet. What are these volcanic eruptions? Can earthquakes trigger volcanic eruptions? How are they interrelated? Why is volcanic activity increasing across the planet? Are we prepared to face these catastrophes? All these and more on WION Wideangle this week. On the 1st of April, a volcano in southwestern Iceland belched lava and smoke into the air. The eruption began at 9:45 a.m. local time, triggering warning sirens in the town of Grindavík, where molten rock started spewing toward the community. Emergency services evacuated the nearby Blue Lagoon luxury spa, as well as inhabitants from the fishing town of Grindavík in the hours ahead of the outbreak, as experts warned the eruption was imminent.
This eruption has been, we've been waiting for it for a while. We knew that the pressure was sufficient to drive an eruption to the surface. What happened this morning was that a strong earthquake swarm started at 6:45 in the morning. And through the first few hours, it was all the magma was moving below the surface. So it was making a new dike intrusion, similar to what we saw in the very initial phase back in November 23. But then at about 9:45 in the morning here, local time, the eruption started. It's very close to Grindavík, but it's a very it's a much smaller eruption than what we had previously.
Referred to as a land of ice and fire for its many glaciers and volcanoes, the North Atlantic island nation has now seen 11 eruptions south of Reykjavik since 2021. The community, located on the Reykjanes Peninsula, was largely evacuated in November 2023, when the volcano came to life after lying dormant for some 800 years.
Actually, there's just like this tension loss, because now I've actually gone and seen my house for the first time since the Friday. So now it's just like a tension coming down, and well, I'm really emotional. That's basically how I'm feeling right now.
Exhausted very much, because this has been going for days and we're pretty much sleep deprived. And we have 3 kids, and you know, you have to kind of stay tough and show them that you need to stay tough in these situations, and that part is pretty much exhausting. There's no relaxing now.
Iceland sits above a volcanic hotspot in the North Atlantic. The most disruptive incident in recent times was the 2010 eruption of the Eyjafjallajökull volcano. The volcanic eruption then spewed clouds of ash into the atmosphere and disrupted transatlantic air travel for months. So what causes volcanic eruptions? Let's understand. The Pacific Ring of Fire is a belt of intense seismic activity encircling the Pacific Ocean. The area is characterized by active volcanoes and frequent earthquakes. Roughly 90% of all earthquakes occur along the Ring of Fire, and the ring is dotted with 75% of all active volcanoes on Earth. The Ring of Fire surrounds several tectonic plates. Tectonic plates move towards each other, creating subduction zones. One plate gets pushed down or is subducted by the other plate. This is a very slow process, a movement of just 1 or 2 inches per year. As subduction happens, rocks melt, become magma, and move to the Earth's surface and cause volcanic activity. Movements of these plates or tectonic activities make the area witness abundant earthquakes and tsunamis every year. People that are most at risk from volcanic eruptions and earthquakes live in countries that lie along the Ring of Fire. Indonesia is one such country, an archipelago of 270 million people. It is prone to earthquakes and volcanic activity because it sits along the Ring of Fire. On the 3rd of April 2025, Mount Merapi in Indonesia's West Sumatra province erupted, sending ash 1.5 kilometers above its peak. The severity of the eruption has been rated at level 2, which is considered the 3rd highest level. Merapi is one of the country's most active volcanoes. An eruption of Merapi killed at least 24 climbers in December 2023. Another volcano, the Mount Lewotobi Laki-Laki volcano in south-central Indonesia, erupted 3 times in the month of March, sending an ash column 26,200 feet high. The volcano on Indonesia's remote island of Flores in East Nusa Tenggara province has had hundreds of earthquakes. Visible volcanic activity has increased in the area. In the recent past, authorities raised the eruption alert to the highest level and expanded the danger zone from 7 kilometers to 8 kilometers from the crater. Several airlines cancelled flights between Australia and Indonesia's tourist island of Bali, while other international and domestic flights to the island were delayed.
We don't have another eruption because we live in Australia, so we have to go to Australia to our house. So we have just one option, and if it's cancelled, we will take another flight, but not today. also tomorrow, but we have to go to Australia.
Hawaii's most active volcano resumed erupting after a week-long pause. On the 20th of March this year, lava from Hawaii's Kilauea created fountains that reached 700 feet into the sky. The eruption is the sixth recorded at Kilauea's summit since 2020. In April, in its most recent eruptive episode, Hawaii's Kilauea volcano shot lava as high as 1,000 feet into the air. The tall fountain of molten rock drew people to Hawaii Volcanoes National Park to check out the spectacle. Look at the aerial footage captured on the 1st of April 2025. The volcano was seen to be emitting lava continuously and producing smoke. Nearly 1,000 people were evacuated on the 10th of March following a new eruption of the Fuego volcano in Guatemala. Located about 35 kilometers southwest of the capital, Guatemala City, it is considered the most active volcano in Central America. As a preventative measure, some 125 families, approximately 900 people, were evacuated from the hamlet of El Porvenir in the municipality of Alotenango. Lying on the Argentina-Chile border, this is Tupungato, a massive Andean lava dome dating to the Pleistocene times, or the Ice Age. Recently, two daughters of an Argentine mountaineer who died on an icy peak 40 years ago retrieved his backpack from the spot. They found a camera film inside that allowed them a glimpse of some of his final experiences. Guillermo Vieiro was 44 when he died in 1985 while descending Argentina's Tupungato lava dome, one of the highest peaks in the Americas. Last year, another mountaineer, Gabriela Cavallaro, spotted Vieiro's backpack, and after examining it, he contacted the late mountaineer's daughters, Guadalupe and Azul. In February this year, the three set out on an 11-day journey to recover the bag from an altitude of about 20,000 feet.
People who don't believe in energies or things like signs, that's fine. Rationally, one could say that a person who left such a strong mark on mountaineering must leave some kind of trace in the mountains or in what they did in their life, so it's inevitable that those traces appear. Rationally, I understand it that way, but spiritually, it felt like a greeting, like a, I'm still here, I exist, you're not alone.
History has witnessed some monstrous volcanic eruptions, from Mount Pinatubo's eruption to Hunga Tonga Hunga Ha'apai's explosion on the Pacific island of Tonga. Here are some of the biggest volcanic eruptions in history. On the 15th of January in 2022, the Hunga Tonga Hunga Ha'apai volcano, or HTHH, experienced an explosive eruption. The submarine volcano had been active for several weeks prior to that date. On the 14th of January, the volcano started erupting. Tsunami warnings were issued. Waves of 30 centimeters were observed in Tonga's capital, Nuku'alofa. The main eruption happened the very next day, on the 15th of January. Nearly 200,000 flashes of lightning lit up the inside of the dark ash cloud for 11 hours. US Space Agency NASA stated that the eruption was hundreds of times more powerful than the Hiroshima atomic bomb, referring to one of two atomic bombs dropped by the United States on Japan during World War II. The eruption triggered tsunamis across various countries, from Japan to the United States. The Tonga eruption has since been assigned a volcanic explosivity index of 5, which is very large.
That's the boat behind.
That's the boat behind. So, which I've had for 30 years. Sailed the Pacific in it, done a lot of game fishing in the Pacific in it. And I've been at Tutukaka fishing and diving since the 70s, and I never would have thought this could happen to you. Breaks your heart to see boats damaged. The boat over there is a write-off. There's boats sunk all through the harbor. It's just unbelievable.
It's a write-off.
The second largest volcanic eruption of the 20th century, and by far the largest eruption to affect a densely populated area, occurred at Mount Pinatubo in the Philippines on the 15th of June in 1991. The eruption produced high-speed avalanches of hot ash and gas, giant mud flows, and a cloud of volcanic ash hundreds of kilometers across. The impacts of the eruption continue to this day. Mount Pinatubo is located about 90 kilometers northwest of Manila and rose to a height of about 4,800 feet prior to its eruption. After 2 months of emissions and small explosions, a series of major explosions began. These explosions reached a peak on June in the next 3 days, producing a column of ash and smoke more than 40 kilometers high, with rock debris falling the same distance from the volcano. More than 800 people were killed, and 100,000 people were displaced. According to the United States Geologic Survey, there are approximately 1,500 potentially active volcanoes worldwide. Most are located around the Pacific Ocean in the Ring of Fire. When volcanoes erupt, they can spew hot, dangerous gases, ash, lava, and rock that can cause loss of life and property. Possible links between volcanoes and earthquakes have long fascinated experts in the field. So the question arises, are volcanoes and earthquakes interrelated? And if so, can earthquakes trigger volcanic eruptions? Multiple lines of evidence from studies suggest that a connection could exist between the two geologic titans in certain situations. Both volcanoes and earthquakes occur due to the movement of the Earth's tectonic plates. They are both caused by the heat and energy released from the Earth's core. Under specific circumstances, earthquakes can trigger volcanic eruptions through severe movement of tectonic plates. Similarly, volcanoes can trigger earthquakes through the movement of magma within a volcano. A few large regional earthquakes, which are greater than magnitude 6, are considered to be related to an eruption or to some type of unrest at a nearby volcano. However, volcanoes can only be triggered into eruption by nearby tectonic earthquakes if they are already poised to erupt. This requires two conditions to be met: enough eruptible magma within the volcanic system, significant pressure within the magma storage region. Therefore, the aspect of how volcanoes and earthquakes are interrelated is to understand the cyclical relationship, where earthquakes cause volcanic eruptions and magma movement causes earthquakes. In recent years, the world has witnessed a series of significant volcanic eruptions. Just in 2025, nearly 50 volcanic eruptions have been recorded, and more are expected to occur. prompting questions about whether such activity is on the rise. However, data from the Smithsonian Institution's Global Volcanism program indicates the volcanic eruptions frequency has remained relatively stable over the past few decades. Since 1991, the annual number of eruptions has ranged between 56 and 88. It's also important to recognize that the Earth has always experienced periods of heightened and diminished volcanic activity as part of its natural geological process. The current level of activity aligns with historical patterns observed over the past century. Volcanic eruptions are often discussed in the context of climate change because they release CO2 and other gases into our atmosphere. According to NASA, the impact of human activities on the carbon cycle exceeds all the world's volcanoes combined by more than 100 times. The most significant eruptions come from supervolcanoes like Yellowstone or Mount Toba, which erupt very rarely, about every 100,000 to 200,000 years or more. Yet the total annual CO2 emissions from human activities are equal to one or more Yellowstone-sized super eruptions. But can climate change trigger volcanic activity? Let's take you to Antarctica, where scientific studies have revealed that melting ice sheets might cause volcanic activity, creating a cycle that speeds up ice loss and sea level rise. Scientists studying Earth's geological past have found that volcanoes covered by ice sheets react strongly when the ice melts. When the thick ice disappears, it removes a heavy weight from the surface. The land underneath then lifts slightly, easing pressure on magma chambers hidden deep within the Earth. This process, called isostatic rebound, can push magma upward, causing eruptions that further melt the ice above. In recent weeks, over 8,000 earthquakes rattled Greece's Santorini island, sparking widespread fear among locals that a volcanic eruption could follow. However, scientists did not link the tremors to volcanic activity, but to tectonic shifts in the Hellenic arc. Santorini is a known volcanic hotspot, and even if there are no signs of an eruption right now, predicting volcanic activity is extremely complex and uncertain. The last time Santorini experienced a volcanic eruption was in 1950. The recent volcanic eruptions stand as a reminder of the need to study these volcanic activities more closely to help better predict future events and to save our planet. Volcanologists closely monitor volcanoes so they can better predict impending eruptions and prepare nearby populations for potential volcanic hazards that could endanger their safety. Still, the fact is, most volcanoes are not well monitored or even monitored at all. Some volcanoes erupt almost continuously, but some don't erupt for tens, hundreds, or even thousands of years. Which one of them will unleash its fury next?